Hi, Misha here, and doing a little bit more FAL content because, well, we haven't done it a bit in a while, and people have asked, so it's not exactly a subject you have to twist my arm over. And this is my pre-band Argentine FMAP FSL, their semi-modern version of their FAP. Well, sorry, they're technically FAL. FAP is the heavy barrel. Oh well, we'll leave it in because I'm human too. The standard version, and you would say this is a standard 50-00 21-inch barrel, fixed buttstock, standard charging handle, standard carry handle. It's on a later Type 3 receiver, though it is forged. Yes, they introduced the Type 3 receiver around 1973-74, and by 77-78, Belgium, FN Herstel, was moving over to a very high-quality investment casting. But a lot of makers like FMAP and Imbel kept on doing forging. Of course, it's a 7.62 NATO, 308, standard 20-round box mag, and the very cool, in my opinion, Argentine sling. And this one has the optional bipod. So this would be standard, except, well, from the get-go, FN wanted to make the FAL kind of modular, where the customers could pick features. And one thing that Argentina stuck with were the so-called tall sights. Now, these were originally in the design, but usually by the time you see the Type C guns, you have the shorter sights, which were introduced with the West German G1, and of course the SA58 used as well, and so on and so forth. But some users, like Argentina, decided not to. And there's other little kind of changes and customizations and economies, and that kind of leads me to today's subject, and a relatively new offering from DS Arms, their so-called SA58 Cold Warrior. So we're going to talk about this, and it is considered an entry-level gun, an economy gun. Is that a bad thing? Is it worth doing? Not? Why did they do this configuration? Just hanging out talking FALs. As always, if you could, please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check us out on Patreon. With that, we'll dive in and see if it's worth it or not. So just because we're kind of using this as our control, the Argentine, like I said, forged receiver, this is a chrome-lined barrel. It has kind of a paint over phosphate finish. It has kind of the more matte furniture. A lot of your FN guns from that era have more of a shiny gloss furniture. It's, like I said, standard handle, standard horizontal takedown, standard 2-position, rubber butt plate. You get the idea. And DS Arms, new so-called Cold Warrior. Broad strokes, yeah, this is a 50-00. First off, real quick, what's it come with? Well, you get one of their 20-round polymer mags. They do work, at least when they're new. And they do come with kind of a cover. And you get a hard case, and you get their standard sling and small manual. It basically just talks about like gas adjustments, that kind of thing. So, you know, kind of the lower end on the mag, but they at least gave you a sling, and they did give you a plastic case, which, if nothing else, should protect the gun. So those are the economies when it comes to accessories. But what about the gun? It does have a standard combo device, internal threads, ports. It does have the notch for a bayonet. They do have some bayonets in stock. Where'd I put one? Yeah, showed it in the last video. Standard Type C socket type. And this is your standard profile. It's like a 533mm 21-inch barrel. It is threaded 13 mil. And it has a phosphate finish. Not bad, but no paint coating. And it is not chrome lined. We have the short style sights, which again most guns had. The Argentinian ones are kind of the outlier. We have a standard 2-position regulator takedown here. We have the standard gas adjustment there. Standard US made handguard. We are bipod cut, barrel and handguard, so you can put on a bipod. We have a folding cocking handle, which I like. They're quite useful and work well enough, and then fold out of the way when you don't need them. Standard bolt release. It is the large foot style. And then for the mag release, we have the ring style, which I also like. It's a little more comfortable to grasp than the smooth one, but your mileage may vary. It's not really a good or bad thing, it's just what it is. And then we have the so-called Holland rear sight, which is just a fixed 250 meter with windage adjustment rear sight. So you don't get elevation, but you do get a very sturdy sight. The standard FAL rear sight is quite adjustable, about 200 to 600 meters notches, but it's wiggly and can easily be knocked or bent, and they're pretty durable, but you know what I mean. So pros and cons there. We have a standard polymer pistol grip, definitely US made because it doesn't have a notch inside for a cleaning kit. Theoretically, you could take a Dremel and notch it if you wanted to. And then a standard US stock. Does have a 360 sling swivel and a rubber butt plate, so not really economized there. The phosphate finish mostly continues throughout the rest of the gun, and we do have a Type 3 cast receiver, which really shouldn't be a surprise. I know everyone wants forged, but again, this is their entry level. And to be fair, the cast receiver, if done properly, works. Now, FN back in the day said their cast receivers were good for 40,000 or more rounds. That was like the minimum. And their forged were good for about 60,000. I'm going off the top of my head, so if I'm off by a few digits, sorry. My point was, FN recognized the cast wouldn't last as long, but even their forged receiver had a shelf life. Now, one good thing is, even though it's cast, being a Type 3 without the lightning cuts means there is more metal there. It will be, at least in theory, stronger. With the price of 308 these days, I'm going to be honest, if you can afford to shoot out one of these guns, you can afford an overseas. According to DS Arms, the whole kind of notion behind this was a Bolivian contract configuration. Now, there was a Bolivian contract. Around 71, that nation acquired some, actually, Argentinian FALs. And those would have still been Type 1 or Type 2 receivers in that era. Later on, they would acquire more, but on Type 3 receivers from FN Herstal in Belgium. And generally, this was the configuration. Holland rear sight, folding handle, and they wouldn't have had no carry handle cut. Now, of course, this isn't an exact replica. It was just kind of an inspiration. So there's kind of two thrusts of this gun. One, to be an entry level. Two, to kind of look like a Bolivian. And, for the price point of what these are, and, on the videos I don't like really giving too many, exact pricing because things change. But you're looking, around 15-ish, maybe a little less, for a brand new DS Arms, brand new FAL of any type. In my opinion, that isn't bad, considering this does have standard features for the most part. Pros, you get a full-size gun, 21-inch barrel. It can take a bayonet, a bipod. I honestly think the fixed rear sight, for just practical purposes, it's sturdy, and you can always pull this off and put a different sight on it. It fits the same base, so I think it's a pro. As I said, I think the charging handle, being the folding style, is also kind of a neat pro. And, standard synthetic furniture. It's actually quite a lightweight gun for its size. I mean, this is about 43.5 inches long. So, yeah, not bad on the weight either. And it is quite a smooth gun for being an FAL, you know. The controls work fine. So cons. Okay. Non-chromed bore. I get it. It's not the worst in the world, but chroming is nice to have. And the same goes for a cast receiver. I actually don't really have an issue with DSA's cast receivers in particular, but come on, everyone would take a forged if they had a choice. And not having a carry handle, I like kind of the smooth side look, but that is a small part it is missing. And then finally coming with the kind of cheaper plastic mag. You're definitely gonna want. You can use this as a range mag. That's fine. It fits fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. But you're gonna want some metric mags, which it takes. So yeah, those are kind of the economies. I do think the pros outweigh the cons, and I do think for someone just saying I want a metric, well, yeah, a Cold War looking FAL, Cold Warrior. There you go. This looks like a kind of pre-band 5000 to the layman, with just a few, you know, small differences here and there. I actually kind of like the phosphate finish. That kind of, and to be fair, the earlier Belgian guns, like the ones that were sold to Israel, were just straight up phosphated. So yeah, I think it's a good option. I mean, if you can afford a little more, sure. But if you can't, I think this is really a good entry-level gun, and since it is pretty standard metric, you could customize it with, say, different furniture, a bipod. You could swap out the sights if you wanted, that kind of stuff. If the Cold Warrior's a little too long, a little too heavy for you, there's also this. The SA58 Commando, spelled with a K because they're cool like that. Yeah, it's basically a pin and weld with a, yeah, Type-C flash hider. I mean, it's right at the legal limit, maybe 16 1/4, 16 1/2 with this thing on, and they chopped it right at the gas. I mean, this is about your dwell time. It's notched for a bayonet, of course, but that is not going on there. There's not enough room. And no room for a bipod either. But you do have your sling swivel, so that's nice. Standard short sight, standard. Now this is a standard length gas system. Of course, DS Arms does have a carbine, so shortened gas system. The only issue with that, it's cool, it saves weight, but it's kind of proprietary. The gas tube, the gas piston, the handguards to DSA. FN Herstal never made a short, so one benefit of keeping the standard length, even if you're maybe destroying your dwell time, is standard parts. It's actually on my favorite style of receiver, the Type 2. I love the Type 2 look. Yeah, lightning cuts. And we do have a standard carry handle and a fixed charger, as you saw. And we do have a lightweight alloy lower. And we have the later style 2-position aperture, so 150 and 250 respectively. Maybe the best sight all around because it has the durability of the Holland style, but you get a little bit better flexibility. But even though this is priced pretty reasonably for a Paragon, it's about $500 more than a fixed stalker, and you do get a little more oomph. It can't all be sunshine and rainbows. First, even though this is my favorite style of receiver, Type 2, it is cast. Again, that's not a deal breaker. That's not a thing. In fact, all of the Kunins were cast, and they were fine, at least before they weren't. But I have to point it out. And being a cast with the lightning cuts does make it a little weaker, but thankfully, since it is a Type 2 with this block back here, if a Type 1, this is back in the old Forge days, was going to have stress fractures from full auto fire, they tended to stress back here where they lock to the lower. So Yeah, that's okay. Another one. This is a pretty standard folding stock. You got your latch under here, you pull it down. Problem is your handle, carry handle. Not a big deal, and it's actually something you find on the 5061 from FN, but it kind of bugs me that you can't fully fold it. Now if you pull it out and move this up, then you can, and you move that down, and there you go. Again, you see this on FN guns as well. It still doesn't mean it doesn't bother me a little bit. A different, maybe like a flattened handle would be better, or just not have a handle at all. And you could easily remove it and put in a spacer if you wanted, like you see on the standard Cold Warrior. So yeah, a short barrel under 15 inches, and it is super light. Between the alloy lower, the Type 2 upper, and the short barrel, yeah, this is an incredibly light FN FAL. Man, I bet it's a flamethrower. But yeah, this has come out recently too, and I do find it hilarious in the best way. And unless you want to do an SBR, this is about as short as you're going to get. But yeah, didn't really feel like it was worth its own full video, but why not? Oh, and by the way, this one comes with the same polymer mag as the other one, because it's kind of not their entry-level gun, but you know, medium tier. But yeah, a couple of new things from DSA, DS Arms. Fun fact, DSA is actually the only FAL maker, official, whatever in the world today. Everyone else has stopped, at least, you know, official military, because they still make plenty of select fire guns for military, special forces, some police units, and they have quite a few semi-autos they also sell to police units, and they get to do a lot of refurbishing and repair work for existing FN FAL users, because believe it or not, they're still out there. Yeah, there are still nations that use the FAL even in 2024, and of course they have done modernized variants. Again, we looked at their lightweight tactical last year, but I'm just a fan of the classics, and that's why these do kind of intrigue me, even though they're new production and have a few new features. They both have a very classic 70s, 80s look, well, aside from the plastic mag. But let me know what you think. I think it's really cool that DS Arms is kind of coming back, doing more variations. They are doing forged receivers today. Some of their more premium guns are on forged receivers. And then again, for their kind of shooter grade, entry level guns, economy guns, they're doing casting. And let me know what you think of that. Are you one of those never cast guys, or do you not mind just the fact that FN did casting kind of make you feel better? Or would you rather look for an old MBEL receiver which is forged? Let me know. And what's your favorite kind of look? The Type 1, the Type 2, the Type 3? Maybe you're an inch pattern fan. Something to talk about in the comments. But like I said, a few folks had asked about FAL content, and thought we would just show off a bit. As always, if you could, please do like, share, and subscribe. Military trigger. And if you'd like to help support us, check out the link to Patreon. We'll try to get out and do a little FAL shooting. We can't shoot every model, mostly because of the cost of 308, but we'll bring one or two of them out. This is Misha. Catch you very soon next time.